Deleted session, December 2nd. Rob noted, some members of Jane's old ESP class gathered at the Hill House of Jane and Rob in Elmira, New York. Dickie read his essay about creativity and commitment. They said, now the sun shines, the writer writes, the artist paints, the thinker thinks, the dreamer dreams, and each of you, whether you know it or not, naturally follow your own natures. You bloom whether or not you recognize the pattern of your petals. You sing. You are like a trans species. As Rubber would say, something happens when you meet the world. Something happens when you meet each other. Something happens when you have a child. When you think, when you look at each other. Something happens the moment you are born, and the world is different. Because you are, the world is different. It is a world of individuals, and distorting an old historic statement. God must love individuals because he never made anything else. You are not born as members of a nation tied tail to tail. You each are aware of the difference of your thoughts. And when your thoughts meet the world, you change the world. Now, you are also changed by the world since you are not made of concrete. But if I have taught you anything, I hope I have given you the grace of know yourselves to some extent, to recognize that you are indeed, in your way, world changers. For as you change yourselves, as you grow, you change the world. The world changes because you are. Now, if you listen without listening too hard, in any intimate moment, you can hear your molecules shout, if you will forgive me, with their own optimism. Each molecule is its own word. Each molecule is its own word. Your thoughts form words. I say what I say, and I say more than you hear, and yet you hear me silently. When I speak of responsibility, I speak of the cat's responsibility to lift its tail or twirl its ear. No cat says I must hold my backside in such and such a fashion, or I must play with catnip. And yet a cat is a cat. A perfect cat, whether it is flawed or has a broken foot, or whether it can hear or not hear, or whether it is ancient or young. A cat is a perfect cat. Now you can understand that, but in the same way, you have a responsibility to be yourself as a cat has to be itself, to express the joyful creature nature that is your own. And through that expression, your spirituality will flower. For it will not flower if you pretend that the spirit is elsewhere and you are here. So, those of you who speak on my behalf, let there be times of boisterous activity. Let there be play. Let there even be time for discord if that is what is needed, but never, and I know you will not, never impose an artificial ceiling of peace, for peace is active. And so if there is any message that I have for your students, as usual it is not a quiet one. When you feel your own vitalities fully, then that will be understood by your students. And when each person feels and releases their own creativity, Rob noted to Sue, they said there will be no need for books about set classes, but now there is such a need. So you have all begun something, have you? And when was it begun? Now, in my books and when I speak to you, I use simple words usually, and the people sometimes write asking why I do not give proper methods. That is, more and more instructions as to how to do this and that. So when I say to you that your classes thrill with quality, it is up to you to discover what quality means to you. And when I say to each of you, classes or no, that your lives be lives of quality, of beauty and of truth, I am not about to define beauty or truth for you. That is your challenge. So you will listen to my words and read them through your interpretations. And those interpretations are highly important. Rob noted to Rob. Say said, now, if there is anything in the universe called good intent, then you have it here. Now, subject Anita Bryant, subject Joyce Tom, subject communication of the official consciousness and what it has wrote. If it were not for television, you would not know much about Anita Bryant. You would not know much about the revered Joyce, who believed he was God and led his followers into folly. If it were not for television and technology and the official line of consciousness, you would not know of the fanaticism of Anita Bryant and our Miss America, American apple pie, good religion, and all the rest. Now, Anita Bryant serves a purpose for all of her distortions, for she presents each person with an exaggerated picture of certain beliefs. She makes each person question the nature of their own beliefs concerning sexuality. And sexuality is not only a personal question. It is not only a question of when to do it, with whom and when and how. Sexuality in your time means what is American. Is it American to be a football hero and a gung-ho male? Is it American to be a homosexual and love poetry or dancing or music or children? Is it a cliché to think that all homosexuals are sensitive and love music and children? Are there no violent homosexuals and no batters? Are all stereotyped masculine men that way because they want to be that way? Are they forced to hide certain feelings? What are women? How do men consider them? Now, Anita Bryant, with orange blossoms, presents you with all of those questions. And each person who views her on television must look into their own beliefs. And the same applies to our Reverend Joyce, and to any fanatic. For the fanatic speaks in exaggerated terms, but he or she speaks beliefs that to some extent each of you hold, but to what degree? And so they are teachers in their way. You may hate them or deride them, and you may say they are fanatics, which they are, but they frighten you, because you know that in your hearts some of their beliefs exist in weaker terms, and where do you draw the line? So even the fanatic serves good purposes. And I will tell you that no one and no fanatic leads masses of people. People follow because they want to, and no one leads them. And if you think you are a leader, you misunderstand the people. For they are taking you where they want you to go. Only you are taking the responsibility and not them. You form your own reality. All of this, you see, is much trickier than appears at the 100th or 200th or thousand glance. Now, I wouldn't drink her goddamned orange juice either. Van said, good for you. Rob noted when Seth's earlier comments were being related back to Jane. Someone remarked that Seth said to look at the Guyana incidents at a thousandth glance. Seth said, you are mistaken. I was speaking about our sessions. Shara said, Seth, are you still with us? Because I waited to express this for a very long time. Seth said, I am indeed. Sherry said, I must express to you how much I love you and say thank you for all that you have done for all of us. She said, now I love you and all of you, and I know that you love me, and I hope that the love is somehow distantly able, distantly to contain some kindly feeling for people like Anita Bryant, and save for roses who are blighted. Remember, and I do not expect any of you practically in daily life to hold this as a rule, but remember, it is because you expect so much from people that Anita Bryant and the fanatics fall so short. And that is why you are so angry at them. Your love for humanity holds, and you become angry when people do not live up to your expectations of their capabilities. You want them to be better, as you want yourself to be better. You do not hate anyone that you are not capable of loving. Remember that. I do not expect any of you to be saints, for if you were saints, you would not be here. And if I were a saint, I would not be here either. But in the vast range of your emotions, leave room for loves that are very distant, so distant and so alien that you do not recognize them, and hold room for the feelings of loss and bitterness and anger that are behind Anita Bryant's statements, and the feelings of lack of words that power her statements and feelings. It is as if she were a meadow upon which no rain had fallen. Then certainly would she be bitter and cry. Rick said, Seth, this is a little changing the subject just a bit, but I have been very interested about your comments about the dream artist and the mental physics as being some of the careers that I have been interested in. They said, less of luck. Rick said, do you have any other suggestions that you might, because I have been considering this for a while. They said, since there are no physical universes, and since I threw out those statements with my own purposes in mind, then it follows that those who are interested must find their own way, and that their imagination and will must drive them to find their own methods. But then people who spook out the universe usually find secret and hidden corners where they can play and work to their heart's content. Vane said, could I just say one thing before? Jane said, hold it, Vane. I'll get back, okay? Ram noted, Seth returned. Vane said, I just want to say that while we were discussing quality earlier, now I want to say that since I began studying the books, the quality has definitely increased in my life, and I want to thank you for that. She said, you thank yourself, for the quality was there all the time. You simply did not recognize what it was. and it will grow. And try some composing on your own, and use your own unique sensibilities to do that. Do not hustle it. Just think of it as a joyful game. Rob noted. Seth's remarks were related back to Jane. She said, "You forgot the part about trying to love Anita Bryant significantly." Rick said, "We were about to say it." Van said, "It's on the tip of our tongues." She said, "Just a tiny, tiny distant love." Rob noted. Seth's remarks were related back to Jane. Dickie said, "So, what is greatness?" She said, "So is greatness." Dickie is greatness. Joseph is greatness. Ricky is greatness. Ronnie is greatness. You are all greatness. To know you are greatness is quality. Then your expressions are true expressions of quality, and they are not marred. Whatever they are not marred. You recognize quality instinctively, whether or not you can say what it is. It inspires you. You run away from things that are not of quality, whether you can say why they are not or not. Your dreams are quality. Your dreams are quality. No one needs to tell you how to dream. You dream instinctively, automatically, and beautifully. You commit a beautiful dream each time you dream. And each dream is a dream of quality. Each breath you take is a breath of quality. All you have to do is to realize that each breath you take ultimately reaches to the ends of the universe and helps withhold your world. You are alone and not alone. Now that statement is far more important than it sounds, for in your aloneness and in your togetherness, and between the two, there is the meaning of your humanity, and there is the meaning of your life and your death. You cannot be completely together. You cannot be completely alone. Yet always must your existence flit between the two, between the desire and the ideal, between the dream and its execution, between your love and your expression of it. There dwells your reality and your meaning, and therein lies the validity of your soul. Ralph noted, Seth withdrew. Jeff said he was talking about quality and how all of us have quality in everything we do, in everything we dream. She said, "Now, if you really believed what I said then you would bank upon yourselves. You would really trust yourselves. You would really know that you are an intimate part of the fabric of the universe. You would trust your abilities and bet upon yourselves. You would, without repressing anything, experience your own reality without impediments. You have a way to go, but you have support. You have biological support. For your atoms and molecules are not imbeciles. You could learn from them. The pupils of your eyes see far more than you see visually. And when you listen to this session, think about that sentence. As Robert said earlier, I am not telling you you can have a heaven upon earth. For one thing, there is no such thing as heaven, and for another, if there were, you would be bored. You need a challenge. Any flower uses it, and I am not talking about problems and challenges being the same thing. I am speaking of initiative and desire and accomplishment, the need to use your abilities, They need to be used as a stem needs to grow. That is what I am speaking of. Now, all of you this evening tell yourselves you will have a true dream from the gates of horn, and we do have a city building. A city, highly impractical, it seems at this time. A city that does indeed exist mentally, but all things must exist mentally first, or they will never be materialized. And someday that city might exist physically, but it will not be when you are here. Yet your memories will be in it, and your desires, and to that extent you will be founders. And you forge such dreams in your sleep, and in your private imaginings, and in your inspirations. For when one member of a species dreams such dreams, those dreams are transmitted to all other members. They do not die. When a runner at the Olympics does better than the runner before them, all the sportscasters say, "How grand! We did not know men could run so fast." And so now, records are being broken all the time, and mentally the same thing applies. Dream a grand dream, for when one member of the species dreams, all members to some extent participate, and the psyche, and the soul, and the heart of man takes new leaves, in your turns, not taken before. So tread yourselves, and tread your love, and your dreams. And tell your students, I said R-A-Y, which means hooray, hooray. Rick said, will do, said. Ram noted. Dickie was discussing Seth's remarks on the inner city when he noticed Seth's return. Dickie said, Seth, how do you interpret that? Seth said, I never interpret myself. I am dead, in your terms, and when this city is physically constructed, you will be as dead or as alive as I am. Dickie said, but will we be living in that city? Seth said, that is up to you. You will be a part of it whether you are living in it or not. It will be a part of your psychological geography. Annie said, will that be related to the third Christ at all? Seth said, no. The city simply represents, in your terms, an idealized version of a reality that can be physical. And that hopefully will be, and if it is, it will be created in your terms now, through your dreams, your love, your desire, and your intent. And then it will seem to be given to its inhabitants, even as it seems to you the earth is given to you. For when you are born, everything is here for you. It is given, but by whom is it given? And how is it that it has come? Can I say to you that your earth originated in a sphere of dreams? That is a mental creation of others, to some extent, in which you participate. That is indeed what I am telling you. Think about it. Ram noted. Seth withdrew. Group discussion. They said, now, nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. Creativity least of all. So your thoughts are not wasted. Your dreams are not wasted, and neither are the thoughts and the dreams of others who have psychological realities perhaps completely different than your own. Nature is luxurious. It uses everything with a grand and riotous display. Ingrid said, isn't it somewhat of a waste if people have abortions all the time? To me, it just seems like a waste to become pregnant when all alone, whenever you just thought of becoming pregnant, to have an abortion. It just seems like a waste. They said, it may be done. I do not know if it is a waste, for the consciousness will come to life if it wants to. And if the consciousness picks a mother who wants to abort, then the consciousness is only here for a short trip, a look around. It is like the seed from an apple tree who travels into the next yard, but does not mature. It looks around and tries again. Any consciousness that wants to be born is born, and it picks a mother that wants to carry a child all the way. Ram noted, Seth withdrew. During discussion, Sherry was talking about how much her students appreciate the Seth tapes. Sherry said the accent, at first, is a little hard to understand. They said, my accent isn't difficult to understand. Now all of you have different accents. I have an eternal accent. It is always this way. Ram noted, Seth withdrew. Sue was concerned about the reaction of people in Dundee. They said, now, Sue, if you speak of life and death, and if you speak of man's dreams and aspirations, then some people in Dundee will understand. Do not think in literary terms. The literary terms can divide you from the people, but what you know intuitionally can only connect you with the people. You will only vocalize feelings that they have but do not understand. Speak simply. Be aware of your own doubts and hesitations, for they can relate to those. They are not creatures of habit. They are not opaque to these ideas. They are not as down to them as you think, to the ideas. Now, I am indeed a strange animal to go into any farmer's barnyard, and I moo loudly indeed. And yet I am not all that strange to any of them. The strangeness is only at a surface level. Ruber receives letters from people all over the country, in every walk of life, from farmers and taxi drivers, teachers, people in any profession. So do not think of the people in Dundee as a group of people who do not understand what you are doing. They are all individuals with their own dreams and levels of understanding. Some will read the books and some will not. Some will understand and some will not. People in other Dundees will do the same. You must be true to your own feelings, whatever they are. Ron noted Jed was recapping Seth's previous statements. They said, you are doing a good job. Jed said, thank you. They said, one other point, however, Ruber never said, will the people in Elmira understand what I'm saying? He wrote because he had to write what he wrote. Now if you, Ram noted, Sue. They said, I have to write what you have to write. Write it. If you do not have to write it, don't. For that is the way that you must go. You must follow your feelings. And if you write what you feel, it must not matter, for your message will reach people all over the world. And if you do not write what you feel, then the message has no meaning. Sue said, I guess I was concerned about immediate hustles over it. They said, talk to Ruber.